Exception handling in Java is a must-know feature when you want to make sure... I did not catch that one. Exception is an error event when the program faces a state where it cannot proceed with its normal execution, aka you goofed. In practice, an exception looks like this. You run the code, but since you don't know what you're doing, it shows this red message telling you the application has stopped and that something's wrong. This is a stack trace showing where the problem happened. You click on the link and it shows the piece of code that threw the exception. Now that we know where the problem is coming from, we can deal with handling the exception. In my not made up game, I need to read and write the player save data to a file. Whenever I try to interact with Java's I/O API, such as files write string, I get these squiggly lines below the method call. This is the compiler telling me that I need to handle a checked exception. This kind of exception is detected during compile time, so when writing our code, we know that a problem can happen here and we need to do something about it. To solve this, we need to wrap our call within a try-catch block. This block does exactly that. It tries to run a piece of code, and if it fails, it catches the error, leaving the rest for us. Nice. Now, what I put in here? It depends. In my totally legit game, I have a GUI that then calls a facade implementation, that then calls a repository class, that then calls the save game class, that then finally calls the Java API to write something to a file. If something goes wrong here, how am I supposed to notify the player about it? Exactly. Exception rethrowing. The point where the problem happens is no place for me to handle that exception, because I want to show to the player that something went wrong and they should leave their PC running to not lose their save, but I don't have any way to show a message within my class that saves the game, so we'll have to rethrow the exception from this point up until it reaches the GUI. For this, I just need to throw away our try-catch block and add a throws clause to our method with the type of the exception being rethrown. In this case, the compiler will no longer complain about the checked exception because now it knows if something goes wrong, just leave the problem to the method that called this one. Now we add the throws call to all other methods in this call stack except to the layer where we can actually do something about it. Our try-catch block returns now in the GUI layer, and within the catch block we can display the message to our player that in disbelief of what it reads and with no options to solve the problem, rushes back to Steam to request a refund. And we didn't even talk about unchecked exceptions, that are the ones that don't generate any compiler error but can explode at any moment during runtime. Even if the compiler does not complain, you can put a try-catch block and the runtime exception will be captured. Don't forget kids, always use protection. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I left a link in the description below with more details about exceptions such as when to use checked and unchecked exceptions, how to implement custom exceptions, the finally block and try with resources block to handle closable resources. Check out the link if you want to know more. See you in the next one. What? Did you expect me to explain everything about exceptions? Well, in that case you can go to my website and check out my full Java course when it comes out, and you will be able to give me money so I can show you how to subtract two numbers in Java.